A charismatic pastor, celebrated for his fiery sermons, marries his dream woman in a storybook wedding. But on their idyllic honeymoon, she uncovers a bombshell, a hidden tape of him in a steamy gay threesome. Hours later, she's found dead, her body at the foot of a cliff. Was it a desperate murder to bury his secret? A heartbroken suicide? Or a tragic accident? Tonight, we unravel the chilling case of Pastor Michael Bennett and his wife, Sarah Bennett. That was it, grabbing you right into the heart of the mystery. A perfect marriage shattered by a secret tape and a deadly fall. Let's dive in. Before we start, let's pause. This case isn't just about a crime, it's about trust shattered, lives upended, and the masks we wear to hide who we are. Pastor Michael preached salvation, but his hidden life led to devastation. Sarah's story reminds us how secrets can unravel everything, leaving pain in their wake. As we explore, ask yourself, how far would you go to protect your truth? If you're new here, hit that subscribe button now and ring the bell so you don't miss a single true crime deep dive. Like this video if you're ready for this roller coaster, and drop your early theories in the comments, I'll read them later. Let's get started. In Oak Ridge, Tennessee, a sleepy town where church bells ring louder than bar fights. Picture rolling hills, white steeples piercing the sky, and a community where Sunday service is the heartbeat of life. This is where Michael Bennett came into the world, born to Ruth and Thomas Bennett, pillars of Oak Ridge Community Church. Ruth taught Sunday school, her gentle voice guiding kids through Bible stories. Thomas, a deacon, was the kind of man who'd quote Corinthians while fixing your car. Michael was their only child, raised in a home where faith wasn't just a belief, it was a way of life. From the jump, Michael was special. At 5, he'd stand on a milk crate in the living room, mimicking his father's sermons with a toy microphone, his tiny voice thundering about heaven and hell. By 14, he was preaching for real at Oak Ridge Community Church, delivering a sermon on forgiveness that left grown men wiping tears. Parishioners whispered, "That boy's got the Spirit in him." His charisma was electric, blue eyes that locked onto yours, a voice that could soothe or scorch, and a knack for making scripture feel alive, like it was written just for you. High school only sharpened his edge. At Oak Ridge High, Michael was a star, captain of the speech team, winning regional competitions with arguments about morality in a world gone astray. Teachers called him a natural leader, classmates called him untouchable, the preacher's kid who never smoked or swore. But even then, there were cracks. A former friend, Jake Larson, later recalled Michael dodging parties, not out of piety but because he seemed guarded. Like he was hiding something behind that perfect smile. After graduation, Michael headed to Belmont University in Nashville, chasing a theology degree. College was where he spread his wings, and where the first shadows of his secret life emerged. He roomed with Daniel Carter, a soft-spoken music major with a talent for guitar. The two were inseparable, late-night debates over Romans, shared pizzas at 2 a.m., long walks across campus under starlit skies. Classmates noticed their closeness. One, Emily Harper, later said, "They were more than friends, but nobody dared say it out loud. Not at a Christian school." Whispers followed, but Michael brushed them off, focusing on his studies. He graduated with honors, his senior thesis on resisting temptation earning praise from professors. Back in Oak Ridge, Michael joined his father's church as youth pastor. His sermons were a sensation, think Fire and Brimstone meets TED Talk. He'd pace the stage, Bible in hand, railing against the devil's traps, lust, greed, and what he called unnatural desires. Teenagers flocked to his youth group, parents begged him to counsel their kids, and donations poured in. By the time Thomas retired, Michael was ready to take the helm. At 27, he became lead pastor, transforming Oak Ridge Community Church into a megachurch rival. He oversaw a $2 million renovation, stained glass, a 1,500-seat auditorium, and a sound system that could wake the dead. Attendance tripled, and Michael's self-published book, Path to Purity, hit Christian bookstores, selling enough to pad his bank account with an estimated $800,000. But beneath the polished suits and packed pews, trouble brewed. During a church conference in Gatlinburg, Michael met two volunteers from a sister congregation, James Parker and Ethan Wells. Both were in their late 20s, charming, and eager to serve. After a late-night prayer session, the three ended up in Michael's hotel room, sharing whiskey from a flask James brought. What started as theological banter turned into something else. James, always the opportunist, had a camcorder rolling, capturing a steamy threesome that would haunt Michael for years. The next morning, Michael woke with a hangover and regret, unaware of the recording. When James revealed the tape weeks later, demanding $5,000 to keep it quiet, Michael paid up, thinking he'd buried the problem. He didn't know James had made a copy, a ticking time bomb. Publicly, Michael was untouchable. He dated sparingly, always with women from the congregation, short, chaste romances that ended politely. "I'm waiting for God's chosen," he'd say, flashing that disarming grin. His flock adored him, his sermons streamed online to thousands, and his reputation as Oak Ridge's holy hero was ironclad. But the tape loomed, a secret that could unravel everything. And then, he met Sarah Mitchell, a woman who'd change his life and set the stage for tragedy. By the time Michael was 34, he was a local legend, preaching to a packed house every Sunday, his voice booming through speakers, warning against sin while carrying a sin of his own. His empire was built on faith, charisma, and a carefully crafted image. But secrets have a way of surfacing, and Michael's was about to collide with the love of his life in the most devastating way possible. Knoxville, Tennessee, a bustling city with a small-town soul, where the Smoky Mountains loom in the distance and community ties run deep. This is where Sarah Mitchell grew up, born to Mary and John Mitchell in a modest ranch-style home on a tree-lined street. Mary, a librarian with a love for classic novels, filled Sarah's childhood with stories of courage and kindness. John, a mechanic with calloused hands and a soft heart, taught her how to change a tire and say grace with equal care. Sarah was their pride and joy, a bright-eyed girl with a laugh that could light up a room. From an early age, Sarah was a giver. At 6, she'd organize lemonade stands, donating every penny to the local animal shelter. By high school at Knoxville West, she was a straight-A student, head of the volunteer club, and the kid who'd sit with the loners at lunch. Her yearbook dubbed her most likely to save the world, and she seemed determined to live up to it. Friends like Rachel Evans, her closest confidant since middle school, described Sarah as a force of nature. "She had this warmth," Rachel later said in an interview. "You felt better just being near her." But Sarah wasn't without her struggles. In her senior year, she lost her grandmother, her biggest cheerleader, to cancer. The grief hit hard, pushing Sarah to question life's fairness. She found solace in faith, attending a local youth group where she rediscovered the Bible. That spark of spirituality carried her to the University of Tennessee, where she studied social work, dreaming of helping broken families heal. Her college years were a blur of late-night study sessions, coffee runs, and volunteering at Knoxville's homeless shelters. She earned the nickname Angel of Knoxville for delivering blankets and hot meals to those in need, even in pouring rain. It was during college that Sarah faced a personal crossroads. During her sophomore year, she grew close to her roommate, Lauren Brooks. What started as late-night talks turned into something more, a brief, experimental romance that lasted a few months. Sarah later called it a moment of confusion, a fleeting exploration during a time of self-discovery. She ended it gently, recommitting to her faith, but the experience left her with a quiet guilt she rarely spoke of. Only Rachel knew the full story, and Sarah swore her to secrecy. After graduating with honors, Sarah took a job as a social worker, helping at-risk youth in Knoxville. Her days were long, her heart full, but her life took a sharp turn after a near-fatal accident. While biking home from work, a hit-and-run driver clipped her, sending her crashing to the pavement. She woke in a hospital with a fractured leg and a renewed sense of purpose. God spared me for a reason, she told Rachel, her voice firm despite the pain. Recovery was grueling, months of physical therapy, but it deepened her faith. She started attending Oak Ridge Community Church, a 45-minute drive from Knoxville, on a friend's recommendation. That's where she first saw Pastor Michael Bennett. It was a sunny Sunday in spring when Sarah walked into the church, her limp barely noticeable. Michael was mid-sermon, his voice booming about redemption and second chances. Sarah was transfixed, not just by his words but by the passion in his eyes. After the service, they met at a church coffee hour. Michael, 34 and single, was drawn to Sarah's quiet strength. She, 28, admired his conviction and charm. They talked for hours, swapping stories about their favorite psalms and small-town life. It felt like we'd known each other forever, Sarah later told Rachel, her face glowing. Their romance moved fast. By summer, they were dating, picnics by the Tennessee River, long drives through the Smokies, and quiet evenings praying together. Sarah opened up to Michael about her college fling with Lauren, framing it as a youthful misstep that strengthened her walk with God. Michael listened, his face calm, and forgave her without hesitation. "We all stumble," he said, quoting James 3 verse 2. "What matters is rising again." His grace made her love him more, but he never shared his own secrets, a choice that would haunt them both. To the outside world, they were a perfect match. Sarah's kindness balanced Michael's intensity, his ambition complemented her compassion. When Michael proposed at a church picnic, dropping to one knee with a sapphire ring glinting in the sunlight, Sarah's yes echoed through the crowd's cheers. Rachel, wiping tears, said, Sarah thought she'd found her soulmate, a man God sent to share her life. The wedding was planned with fervor, every detail, flowers, vows, music, chosen to reflect their shared faith. But beneath the fairy tale romance, storm clouds gathered. Sarah had no idea about Michael's hidden past, the tape, the blackmail, the double life. She saw him as her rock, her holy partner, unaware that his secrets were a ticking time bomb. As the wedding day approached, Sarah dreamed of a future filled with love and purpose, while Michael carried the weight of a truth that could shatter it all. This was Sarah Mitchell, a woman whose heart was as big as her dreams, whose faith guided her through pain, and whose love for Michael blinded her to the darkness lurking beneath his sermons. Her story was about to collide with his in a way that would end in tragedy. The air in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, buzzed with anticipation as the big day arrived. Oak Ridge Community Church, its white steeple gleaming under a cloudless summer sky, was transformed into a vision of elegance. Garlands of white roses draped the pews, candles flickered in golden holders, and a string quartet played softly as 400 guests filled the sanctuary. This was the wedding of Pastor Michael Bennett and Sarah Mitchell, the event the town had been talking about for months. It was a celebration of faith, love, and the promise of a holy union, but for those who knew the undercurrents, it was also the calm before a storm. Sarah was radiant as she prepared in the church's bridal suite. Her ivory gown, with delicate lace trailing down her back, hugged her frame like it was made for her. Her mother, Mary, pinned a pearl-studded veil into her hair, tears in her eyes. "You're my angel, always," she whispered. Sarah's best friend, Rachel Evans, adjusted her train, joking about how Sarah's smile could outshine the sun. Sarah clutched a small Bible, a gift from her late grandmother, and whispered a prayer for strength and joy. To her, this day was the start of a life built on trust and devotion. She had no idea what secrets waited in the wings. Across the church, Michael stood in the pastor's office, adjusting his navy suit in a mirror. His father, Thomas, clapped him on the shoulder, beaming with pride. "You're doing right by God and Sarah," he said. Michael forced a smile, his stomach churning. He was 34, the town's golden pastor, and today he'd pledge his life to Sarah, the woman who'd brought light to his world. But the weight of his past, the hidden tape from that reckless night with James Parker and Ethan Wells, pressed on him like a stone. He'd paid them to stay silent, but doubt gnawed at him. Would they keep their word? The ceremony began at 4 p.m., with Pastor William Tate, Michael's mentor from his Belmont days, presiding. The sanctuary hushed as Sarah walked down the aisle, her father, John, at her side. Guests later said she looked like a vision, her eyes locked on Michael with unwavering love. Michael stood at the altar, his hands clasped tightly, his smile warm but his jaw tense. The vows were heartfelt. Sarah promised to love and support you through all trials, her voice steady and clear. Michael vowed to lead our home with faith and truth, his words ringing with conviction but hiding a lie. They exchanged rings, a sapphire band for her, a simple gold one for him, and sealed it with a kiss that drew cheers from the crowd. The reception was held at the Oak Ridge Golf Club, a sprawling venue with chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking emerald fairways. Tables were adorned with white linens and centerpieces of lilies, Sarah's favorite flower. The couple's first dance was a slow sway, their laughter mingling with the soft notes of a love ballad. Guests clinked glasses, toasts flowed, and the mood was electric, until a few moments cast a subtle chill. Daniel Carter, Michael's college roommate, took the microphone for a toast. The room quieted as he raised a glass, his eyes fixed on Michael. To Michael, he began, his voice smooth but edged. A man of deep conviction. May your marriage reveal the truest parts of you. The words landed oddly, like a stone in a still pond. Some guests chuckled, thinking it a playful jab, but Sarah later told Rachel it felt off. Like he knew something, she whispered. Michael's smile tightened, his hand gripping his glass a little too hard. Daniel, who'd shared a fleeting romance with Michael years ago, knew more than he let on, but he melted back into the crowd. As the night wore on, the real threat emerged. James Parker and Ethan Wells, the men from Michael's scandalous past, slipped into the reception uninvited. They blended in, wearing suits and fake smiles, but their presence was no accident. During a moment when Michael stepped away to greet guests, they cornered him near the dessert table. "We need to talk," James hissed, his breath sharp with whiskey. Ethan leaned in, voice low. "The tape's still out there. 15 grand each, or it goes public." Michael's face drained of color. He'd already paid them once, but their greed had no end. Desperate to keep Sarah in the dark, he agreed, promising to wire the money from church funds the next day. "This is the last time," he growled. James smirked, knowing he held all the cards. The night ended with fireworks over the golf course, Sarah and Michael waving to guests as they climbed into a decorated car bound for the airport. Their honeymoon awaited in Kauai, Hawaii, at the Grand Hyatt Resort's oceanfront suite. A dream escaped to cement their love. Sarah leaned against Michael, her head on his shoulder, whispering, "I can't wait for forever with you." Michael kissed her forehead, his heart racing. The tape, the blackmail, Daniel's cryptic toast, all loomed like specters, but he pushed them down, praying they'd stay buried. As they drove off, the crowd cheered, unaware that the joy of this perfect day was about to unravel in the most devastating way. The wedding was a triumph, but the shadows cast by Michael's secrets were growing longer, threatening to engulf the life he and Sarah had just begun. The Grand Hyatt Resort in Kauai was a slice of heaven, palm trees swaying, turquoise waves lapping at golden sand, and the scent of hibiscus in the air. Michael and Sarah Bennett arrived at their oceanfront suite, hand in hand, their faces glowing with newlywed joy. The room was a dream. Floor-to-ceiling windows with ocean views, a king-sized bed draped in white linens, and a private lanai where they sipped champagne under a starlit sky. Sarah, still in the blush of love, posted a selfie on Instagram, her smile wide as she leaned into Michael, captioning it, "Paradise found with my forever love." #BennettBliss. For a moment, it seemed nothing could touch their happiness. Their first day was pure magic. They lounged on the beach, Sarah's laughter ringing as Michael splashed her in the shallows. They snorkeled among coral reefs, marveling at schools of vibrant fish, and dined at a beachside restaurant, toasting with coconut cocktails. Michael, 34, seemed lighter, as if the weight of his secrets had lifted in the island breeze. Sarah, 28, was radiant, her eyes sparkling with dreams of their future. "This is what forever feels like," she whispered as they watched the sunset, her head on his shoulder. Michael squeezed her hand, but his smile hid a flicker of unease. The blackmail from James Parker and Ethan Wells at the wedding lingered in his mind, a shadow he couldn't shake. The second day, they ventured out to explore the rugged Na Pali coast. They hiked hand in hand along cliffside trails, pausing to kiss beside a cascading waterfall. Sarah snapped photos, her excitement infectious, while Michael played the doting husband, carrying her backpack and teasing her about her fear of lizards. Back at the resort, they planned a quiet evening. Michael excused himself to the lanai for a quick ministry call, leaving Sarah alone in the suite. She decided to surprise him by unpacking his suitcase, hoping to set up a romantic scene with candles and rose petals she'd brought from home. As she rummaged through his belongings, her fingers brushed against something unexpected, a worn VHS tape labeled Gatlinburg Retreat. Curiosity piqued, Sarah glanced at the suite's vintage VCR, a quirky feature for guests who enjoyed retro movie nights. She popped the tape in, expecting a church event or old sermon footage. What played instead shattered her world. The grainy video showed a hotel room, dimly lit, with Michael, unmistakably him, entwined with James Parker and Ethan Wells. The three men laughed, then kissed, their clothes falling away as the scene turned explicit. Michael's voice, clear as day, directed the encounter, his face alight with desire. Sarah froze, her breath catching as she watched for 15 agonizing minutes. Her husband, the man who'd vowed fidelity before God and 400 guests, was living a lie. She ejected the tape, hands trembling, tears streaming down her cheeks. When Michael returned, he found Sarah sitting on the bed, the tape in her lap, her eyes red and accusing. "What is this, Michael?" she demanded, her voice breaking. "Who are you really?" Michael's face paled. He tried to deflect, claiming the tape was a fake, a vicious prank by church rivals. "Someone's trying to ruin me," he insisted, his voice shaking. But Sarah wasn't fooled. She recognized the hotel room from photos of Michael's Gatlinburg retreat, the same event he described as a spiritual turning point. Cornered, Michael collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. "It was one night," he confessed, voice barely above a whisper. "A mistake. I was drunk, tempted by the devil. I chose you, Sarah. I love you." Sarah's world crumbled. The man she'd married, the pastor she'd trusted, had betrayed her in the most intimate way. She stood, clutching the tape, and screamed, "You lied to me. To God. To everyone." Michael begged for forgiveness, quoting Psalm 51 about a contrite heart, but Sarah was beyond reach. She grabbed her phone and stormed out to the beach, the night air cool against her tear-streaked face. She called Rachel Evans, her best friend, sobbing into the phone. "He's not who I thought, Rachel. He's been with men. I saw it. What do I do?" Rachel, stunned, urged her to calm down and talk it out. "Don't make any rash decisions," she said. "You're on an island, far from home. Just breathe." Sarah returned to the suite around midnight, her face a mask of pain. Michael was on his knees, praying aloud, tears streaming. "I'll tell the church everything," he promised. "We'll get counseling. I'll make this right." Sarah didn't respond. She climbed into bed, turning away from him, the tape on the nightstand like a silent accusation. They lay in silence, the space between them a chasm. The honeymoon, meant to be their beginning, had become a battleground of trust and betrayal, setting the stage for a tragedy no one saw coming. The Grand Hyatt Resort in Kauai was quiet as dusk settled, but tension choked Suite 408. Sarah Mitchell, reeling from the VHS tape exposing Michael Bennett's past threesome, faced her new husband with betrayal in her eyes. Over breakfast, their argument flared. Sarah demanded truth about his secret life. Michael admitted to past encounters with men but swore he loved her. Unconvinced, Sarah texted her lawyer friend, Claire Hudson, about annulment, her heart torn. That afternoon, they drove to Waimea Canyon, the silence between them heavy. Back at the suite by 5 p.m., Sarah said she needed air and headed for the cliffside path near the resort's beach. The trail was narrow, slick from rain, with a 60-foot drop to the rocks below. Michael stayed behind, ordering room service at 6:30 p.m., but his calm was a facade. Around 7 p.m., Michael followed Sarah to the cliff. He found her staring at the ocean, her phone in hand, typing a text to Rachel Evans, "I can't live with his lies." Michael pleaded, "We can fix this, Sarah. Don't ruin us." She turned, furious. "You ruined us with your secrets." Their voices rose, echoing over the waves. A guest, Emma Torres, saw them arguing, Michael grabbing Sarah's arm as she pulled away. In a moment of panic, fearing exposure, Michael pushed Sarah. She stumbled, her flip-flops slipping on the wet path, and fell over the cliff. Her body hit the rocks below, skull fractured, spine broken, dead on impact. Michael froze, then returned to the suite, praying no one saw. At 7:15 p.m., a groundskeeper found Sarah's body. Police arrived, and Michael claimed she slipped, distraught from their fight. Emma's testimony, spotting a man like Michael arguing on the path, raised doubts, but dim lighting weakened her account. No fingerprints or struggle marks were found. Sarah's phone held her unsent text, and her journal hinted at despair but not suicide. The autopsy ruled the death undetermined, accident, suicide, or murder. Michael's secret drove him to kill, desperate to protect his empire. But the truth was closing in. Detective Lonnie Kikoa led the Kauai police investigation into Sarah Mitchell's death. The cliffside scene yielded no fingerprints or signs of a struggle, and the autopsy confirmed blunt force trauma with no drugs or alcohol. Michael Bennett, the prime suspect, insisted Sarah slipped during a walk, distraught after their argument. His 6:30 p.m. room service order supported his alibi, but a witness, Emma Torres, saw a man resembling Michael arguing on the cliff path at 7 p.m., though poor lighting weakened her claim. Police searched the Bennett home in Oak Ridge, finding the scandalous tape in Michael's safe, confirming his secret past with James Parker and Ethan Wells. The blackmailers admitted their scheme but were in Knoxville, alibis solid. Daniel Carter, Michael's college lover, revealed Michael's threats to keep him quiet, but Daniel was in Nashville. Church treasurer Mark Sullivan, who funneled church funds with Michael, was in Hawaii with a flimsy alibi, raising suspicions. Sarah's phone showed searches for annulment laws and pastor scandals. Her journal entry, "Michael's secret breaks me. Can I stay?" hinted at despair but not suicide. With motives piling up, Michael's fear of exposure, Sullivan's financial stake, the case grew murkier, leaving police grasping for hard evidence. Kauai police, led by Detective Lonnie Kikoa, built a case against Pastor Michael Bennett for Sarah Mitchell's murder. A critical witness, resort bartender Caleb Ruiz, saw Michael leave his suite at 6:45 p.m., heading toward the cliff path where Sarah fell, contradicting his claim of staying put. A groundskeeper, Luis Navarro, found a torn piece of Michael's navy shirt snagged on a cliffside bush, placing him at the scene. Forensic analysis matched the fabric to Michael's clothing from that night. The VHS tape, found in Michael's Oak Ridge home, confirmed his motive. Sarah's discovery of his past threesome with James Parker and Ethan Wells threatened his ministry. Sarah's phone held a draft email to her lawyer friend, Claire Hudson, titled, "Annulment Proof," with a still from the tape, showing she planned to expose him. Recovered deleted texts from Michael's phone to church treasurer Mark Sullivan read, "She's going to ruin me. Stop her." Sullivan, Indiana Kauai with a weak alibi, denied involvement but admitted to embezzling with Michael, suggesting a shared motive to silence Sarah. The case broke open when Ethan Wells, bitter over unpaid blackmail, sent an anonymous tip to police, detailing Michael's panic after Sarah found the tape. Church members, hearing whispers of the scandal, confronted Michael at a service. He stammered, unable to explain, and his flock turned on him, demanding answers. Sarah's family pushed for justice, sharing her journal entry, "Michael's secret breaks me. Can I stay?" Michael was arrested at his Oak Ridge home, charged with second-degree murder. Handcuffed, he insisted, it was an accident, but the evidence stacked against him. The trial, held in Kauai County Court under Judge Elena Morales, was intense. Prosecutor Mia Chong argued Michael pushed Sarah to protect his secrets, citing the shirt fragment, Caleb's testimony, and the texts. Defense attorney Noah Lee claimed Sarah slipped, emotional from the tape, but couldn't explain Michael's presence at the cliff. The tape was shown in court, exposing Michael's hypocrisy to jurors. Caleb's testimony held firm, and a forensic expert, Dr. Alan Kimura, confirmed the fall's force suggested a push, not a slip. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury convicted Michael of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 20 years, his head bowed as Sarah's mother, Mary, wept with relief. Sarah Mitchell's death on a Kauai cliff was more than a crime, it was a betrayal of love and trust. Michael Bennett, the pastor who preached purity, hid a secret that drove him to murder his bride to protect his empire. The evidence, witness sightings, a torn shirt, damning texts, nailed him, and his 20-year sentence delivered justice. Sarah's family grieves, her memory honored on a gravestone reading, "Beloved daughter, taken too soon." This case reminds us that secrets, no matter how deeply buried, have a way of surfacing, leaving devastation in their wake. What do you make of Michael's double life? Could Sarah have been saved if she'd never found the tape? And do you think justice was truly served, or did someone else play a role? Drop your theories in the comments, I'll read every one. If this story gripped you, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for more true crime deep dives. Share this video with a friend who loves a good mystery. Thanks for joining, stay curious, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.